What up, everybody? Good morning and a happy Monday to you all. DK Show coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk Studios this morning. A big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you're tuning in. If it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also stream it up online at sportstalk1051.com. Your smart devices, smart speaker, and video streams are also up and rolling on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. But again, hopefully, you all had a fantastic weekend and you're ready to hit up a brand new work week here. What do we got on a game plan for us this morning? Catching up on everything from the last couple days here. Brew Crew taking 3 out of 4 against the Cincinnati Reds. Another series win for the Brewers. Their lone loss coming on Saturday nights, but you go back to Friday, picking up a 3-2 victory. Saturday's loss, 11-7, although the Brewers down in a big hole in that one, tried to claw their way back, just falling a little bit short. And then yesterday, picking up an 8-2 victory over the Reds, where we saw Jackson with a couple of dingers, but Chad Patrick getting another start. And tip of the cap to Chad Patrick. Dude's gotten a couple of opportunities so far this year, and he's pitched pretty good. Not too bad for the youngster, picking up his first career win yesterday, where he went 5 and a third, giving up 2 hits, just 1 earned run, striking out 4. But in his 2 games for the Brewers this year, 11 innings pitched, striking out 10, 2.45 ERA that first game against the Kansas City Royals, which remember he was the chase, helped settle everything down with his pitching staff. That's when Brewers were sitting there at 0 and 4, and he comes in and he gives them 4 and 2/3, just 3 hits, 5 strikeouts, no earned runs. So fantastic last couple starts. You got a little bit of action in against the Yankees on the 29th, where he pitched an inning and gave up a couple earned runs there. But in his last 2 starts here, he settled in nicely for the Brewers, and Brewers probably going to be counting on him and maybe some other pitchers a little bit more here too, because another injury. Nestor Cortez placed on the injured list with an elbow issue, 15-day IL. So hopefully it's nothing too serious, but it's an elbow strain. Whenever it comes to a pitcher, though, you get nervous when it comes to anything that has the word elbow in it. So, but Brewers should get Quintana back here in the next few days, and got to with this team. I mean, the grit that they're showing and the offense coming out the last couple of games here too, trying to help out that pitching staff, especially Jackson Churio. Looking at him, 3 home runs, 2 of them coming from yesterday. Bryce Terang doing pretty well. Sal Frelick, you got probably looking at those 3 guys that have been the most consistent a little over a week here from an offensive production standpoint. So off day for the Brewers today before they travel on the road for their next couple of series. 3 games in Colorado that begins tomorrow night, then in Arizona before they return home a week from today, where they will welcome the Tigers of Detroit. So off day today, first one since back on March 28th, and probably coming at a good time here for the Brewers, just to kind of take a deep breath and maybe give the pitchers a little bit of a time off here too. So, but we'll talk some Brewers as we get set, or as we kind of look back, excuse me, look back at these last couple games from over the weekend. Bucks also picking up a couple of wins here as of late, picking up a win against the Heat on Saturday night, and then last night picking up a win against the Pelicans. The Bucks have clinched at least a top 6 spot in the postseason. They're a game up on the Detroit Pistons right now. They're still 3 back from the Pacers, but just 4 games left to go here for the Bucks. So we know the playoff teams in the Eastern Conference. We know who's going to be in the play-in. We know the top 6. There could still be a little bit of shuffling around in terms of, like like the Pacers or the Bucks or the Pistons and the Bucks and such. So we could still have a little bit of movement, but we know the 10 teams in the Eastern Conference. The West, still a little bit up in the air. Right now, Phoenix is, probably not gonna make the postseason, it looks like, but who knows? They're, what, 2.5 back from Dallas, who's sitting in that, 10 spot, and Phoenix has lost 6 in a row right now. Yeesh. But, we've got Oklahoma obviously at the top, the number 1 spot. Houston has clinched a playoff spot in that top 6. Everything else is up in the air. So the Lakers, who are in the 3rd seed, they haven't clinched a top 6 spot yet, but it's getting close here too. So, but we're gonna get Bobby Portis back tomorrow for the Bucks. That'd be a nice bonus, getting Bobby back there and getting close to maybe getting that at least 5th seed where the Bucks would be on the road to open up the postseason and taking on the Indiana Pacers. So just 4 games left of this regular season. We'll talk a little hoops. And speaking of hoops, UConn women's team picking up their 12th national title, dominating performances in the last couple of, I mean, dominating UCLA in the Final Four and then dominating South Carolina in the championship game yesterday. So UConn, 12th national championship in their women's basketball program. And then tonight, it'll be Houston or Florida. Florida picking up the win over Auburn. Auburn had to lead at half, but Florida come back and winning it. Duke looked like they were going to get back to the national championship game, but Houston able to make a very late come from behind victory and advance to the national championship game. So we've got Florida and we've got Houston for all the marbles tonight. And hopefully the game is as close as our latest poll for our 715 Speaks fan poll question that we posted up last night. And you'll hear the results throughout the day today. But I'll just tell you, it was incredibly close. Our closest poll question that we have done to date, 51% going with Houston. Houston getting a slight advantage when we added up our Facebook and Twitter votes. So hopefully the game tonight is as good as that poll question was. So, but we'll talk some college hoops on the docket. We've got a little Packers potential prospect series continues. We're going to take a look at an offensive player and a defensive player today. Offensive player, we're going to look at Luther Burden, wide receiver from Missouri, and defensive tackle from Michigan, Kenneth Grant. So we'll take a look at those two potential prospects that maybe the Packers could target with their first round or maybe an early day 2 pick. We got a little I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Best ones, text them to me on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. We'll hit that up, and I'll just tell you mine, be a little bit of a tease here, but mine, is in relation to Alex Ovechkin breaking the scoring, goals record, from by, or previously held by the great one, Wayne Gretzky. But Ovechkin breaking that record yesterday, getting goal 895. So, got a new leader at the top. But, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying relates to that little bit of a tease, but we'll get to that coming up a little bit later on. And whatever else is on your mind, you can let us know. Hit us up with some text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line or comment on the, video streams or hit us up on the socials. So, lots to get to, lots to catch up on. Let's jump right into it, shall we? We'll take our first break, and then we've got the leadoff coming up here. We're gonna talk some Brewers. Brewers taking 3 out of 4 against the, Cincinnati Reds, but more injuries to the pitching staff. But you're getting some solid unexpected play from guys like Chad Patrick, getting some solid play from one Jackson Cheerio offensively as of late, Sal Frelick. Yeah, Bryce Terang as well. So the Brewers are back to 500, 5-5 after starting the season 0-4, have gone 5-1 in their last 6 to get it back to 500 and just a game back from the Cubs for the division lead. If you're looking at the very, 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 very early standings at this point, so we'll talk a little baseball to open it up. We'll throw a little hoops chat in the equation as well. So let's jump right into it. We'll take our first break and then the leadoff coming up. Talk a little baseball to get things going here this morning. Plus, if you're just waking up, Toronto locking up Guerrero Jr., massive deal, 14-year deal. We'll hit that up too. Summer is right around the corner, and what better way to get ready for summer than visiting Home Oasis for their Customer Appreciation Days? This Friday, April 11th, and Saturday, April 12th, you can come check out the new Sundance spas on the floors, and they'll even have the Green Mountain Grills going with some grilled food and even some grilled cookies. Plus, it'll be the perfect time to stock up for the summer as they will have deals going on as well. So mark it on your calendars to visit Home Oasis in Chippewa Falls for their Customer Appreciation Days, April 11th and April 12th. Don't forget to grab a cookie too. So I'll be stopping over there Friday. Definitely going to be checking it out. So big thanks to Home Oasis. They are one of our partners for our draft coverage coming up in a couple of weeks. So let's get things rolling here this morning on the leadoff. Let's talk a little Milwaukee Brewers. A very successful weekend for the Milwaukee Brewers, taking 3 out of 4 against the Cincinnati Reds. Going back to Friday night, picking up a 3-2 victory. And then you go back to Saturday, dug themselves in kind of a deep hole with the Reds going up 7-0 right away through 4 innings. But the Brewers tried chipping away at it, tried to chip away a little bit at it, but couldn't quite catch up. So they fell 11-7, but then they bounced back yesterday and pick up an 8-2 victory where Chad Patrick was pretty darn good. And I also Friday night I want to give Tyler Alexander some credit too, because Alexander went out there and pitched 5 2/3, striking out 6, no earned runs, no walk, had a no going, but did have no runs, 3 walks, 6 Ks, no hits, had a no going there too. So I do want to make sure to give Tyler Alexander a nice shout out there too, because that was a solid performance from him going up against the Reds on Friday night. But after starting the season off 0-4 and things weren't looking great, especially in the pitching department, the Brewers have bounced back nicely and have won 5 of their last 6 to get back to 5-5 on the season and are 1 game back from the Cubs, who are sitting there at 7-5 in the NL Central standings. The one downer over the weekend was the news that Nestor Cortes will be on the 15-day injured list due to an elbow strain. The Brewers announced it yesterday. They called up Grant Wolfram from AAA to get his to fill in his spot. So, according to some of the comments, Milwaukee Brewers assistant general manager Matt Klein said Cortez's elbow, quote, started feeling a little scratchy earlier last week. Imaging was done, and the team compared it to the imaging done after the trade. During the offseason, Cortes rehabbed apparently from a similar injury suffered towards the end of the 2024 regular season, but, quote, it didn't show any significant changes. Cortes saying, I was like, I feel something, but I don't know what it is. I'm still going out there. I'm throwing. I threw my bullpen. Everything is normal. They wanted to see if there was something alarming, so I don't make my start Thursday, but I feel like they saw what it was and didn't feel like it was going to hurt me. So it seems like the concern level is low with this issue. But again, whenever there's a pitcher and you throw the word elbow in there or arm in there, I always get nervous. I mean, it's just I always get nervous. Hopefully the concern level is low. They say it's low, but we've been down this road before, not to try to be a negative or a Debbie Downer or anything like that. You always get nervous. And I think the one thing that really kind of popped out to me was where apparently this was something that he had been going through last year, and the Brewers were aware of this and looking at his scans after that and his MRIs after that. So, I mean, it was something apparently that they were aware of or kind of familiar with that he had gone through at the end of last year. So hopefully this doesn't develop into something major, But Cortez also went on to say, I think between me and the medical staff, we've had good communications just because obviously once I got traded, I got an MRI in the offseason. And then going through the whole rehab process during the offseason kind of gave us a better idea of where I stood with the arm. I mean, we did a really good job in spring training, so it sucks that we're here now. I think with a small break here, it'll feel a lot better. Hopefully, there's inflammation. The inflammation goes down. And if there's strengthening to do, we get that. And hopefully, I'm back sooner rather than later. So, yeah, another hit to this Brewers pitching staff. We'll see how it all kind of plays out here, but that was definitely a downer from over the weekend. I mean, Freddie Peralta is now the only regular starter in this rotation at this current point in time for the Brewers. Get this guy bubble wrapped, and Freddie Peralta is slated to get the start against the Rockies tomorrow night. But you've had guys like a Tyler Alexander come in, get that start on Friday, pitch really well. Chad Patrick now has also put back-to-back performances of some solid, really solid games. Going back to that game against the Royals where kind of changed the tide of everything, giving the Brewers more than what they probably expected from him. In their first win of the season, he tossed 4 2/3 of scoreless work against the Royals. Didn't qualify for the W, but yesterday he did qualify for the W and got his first win. Pat Murphy after the game saying very, very poised. You wouldn't know that he just started his major league career. Very poised, sensible with his stuff. There's a ton of room for improvement, but just him gaining that confidence that he belongs and that he can help us twice on this homestand, it's really kind of significant. So I'm sure he's probably going to get some more opportunities this year. And right now, this Brewers team with this pitching staff is kind of following a similar pattern to what we saw last year. Guys getting banged up, younger guys getting opportunities to showcase what they could bring to the table. It was Robert Gasser last year before he ended up getting hurt. It was Tobias Myers last year too. A couple of young guys in the minors that maybe we didn't know a whole lot about or weren't really familiar with. And they get a shot. And I'm not saying Chad Patrick's going to be, similar to what Robert Gasser was last year or what Tobias Myers was last year. Obviously, I'm hoping that's the case, that a guy like Chad Patrick can turn into that this year, but it's way too early to say that. But it's kind of eerie how it's so far for this Brewers pitching staff following a similar pattern to last year. And hopefully, it's obviously a little bit earlier this season because we're expecting Tobias Myers to be back here soon. We're expecting Aaron Savali to be back. They're saying nothing, too concerning with Nestor Cortez. We're expecting Brandon Woodruff to probably be back next month. So we are getting guys back where it was maybe a little bit different last year where, Robert Gasser gets hurt and he's done. They tried to bring in Dallas Keuchel. They made a trade for Aaron Savali. They made a trade for Frankie Montas. Wade Miley went down early last year. So hopefully when these guys do come back, it'll kind of settle down this pitching staff where we're not kind of juggling around all over the place here. But hopefully, because I would imagine in the immediate future, Patrick's going to get some more opportunities. And hopefully he can kind of continue to take advantage of that and make the decision hard for the Brewers whenever they do get at full strength. Like, what do we got to find a role for this guy? Is it going to be continuing to get some starts, or is it the bullpen and such? Way too early to talk about that, but you still got to tip the cap to Chad Patrick for what he has done in his last couple of starts here, and definitely helping out the Brewers manage a very stressful situation. But this team's got grit. I mean, last year we saw this Brewers team have a boatload of grit, right? I mean, this was a team that battled those injuries. This was a team that we didn't know what to expect last year. And we talked about it a lot. I had no expectations going into last year. Brand new manager. You had this kid that was all hype and double A and single A and spent the hot minute in triple A and gets a big contract. Didn't know what to expect from him. Didn't know what to expect from Yelly. There was just a lot of unknowns, and they showcased a lot of grit last year. And so far in the early stages, in the first 10 games of this season, this Brewers team again is showing that grit, and I think a lot of it is they're following their lead from their manager Pat Murphy. And this is why this team, they call me a little bit of a homer on this, I don't care. But I believe this is a big reason why this team is so easy to root for, to back, to cheer for, to follow, is because they show that grit. They kind of show that blue collar work mentality. Yeah, they're dealing with a lot of injuries in the pitching department, but you don't hear them use it as an excuse. They still go out there, they still work their butts off, and they still go out there. And right now, they're winning games. They've won 5 of their last 6. It's that grit factor, that blue collar work mentality. That's the impression I get from this team again so far this year. It was like that last year, and I know it's only 10 games into a 162 game season, but it's kind of that same feeling right now. And I think it starts with the mindset that their manager brings to this clubhouse, brings to this team, that Pat Murphy brings us. This team follows his lead. They buy in. And you're looking at not only from the pitching side with a Chad Patrick, stepping up and taking advantage of his opportunities. But then, you've got this guy like Sal Frelick, okay? I love watching Sal Frelick play. When we talk about some of your favorite players to watch, I love watching Sal Frelick play. Because if Sal Frelick doesn't have a dirty jersey, whether, in the pants or in the front, I mean, then he must have had a really quiet day. That is a dude that is like, whether it's in the field hustling, chasing down a fly ball, chasing down, or trying to beat out a run to first. He doesn't have the most power in the world, but this is a guy that he'll get you base hits, he'll get on base, and I don't think I've seen this guy play less than 100 miles per hour in any single game. Like, I enjoy watching Sal Frelick play. He's not going to be the power guy and hit you some towering shots. But for a guy who's listed at 5'8", this is a guy that plays with a ton of heart and a ton of hustle. And he's always diving and just he's one of my favorite players to watch right now, and he's off to a really good start this year. So far this season, he's hitting .378. He's got an OPS of a .911 and an on-base percentage of a .452. No home runs, couple stolen bases, nothing flashy in the power department, but they still consistently put him in the middle of that lineup. He's kind of a non-traditional middle of the lineup hitter, 5th, 6th spot in there, but he's come through the clutch on a couple of hits, on a few hits so far this season. And we know, I mean, he's a Gold Glove winning outfielder, but this is a dude that plays with all heart, plays with the emotions on his sleeves, and just goes all out every single day. I love watching number 10 go out there and play. And I love watching Jackson Churio go out there and play too, because I mean, this is a guy that if he's not playing with a smile on his face, then I think you need to start worrying. I mean, this is a guy that goes out there and just plays ball for the pure enjoyment of it. And yesterday's game, it's easy to look at it and just kind of just focus on that game, and a couple home runs, fantastic. But so far this season, .295 and OPS of an .880. But you break it down in his last 29 at-bats, it's a .345 average, and he's slugging .759 with his 3 dingers. And this is a guy that started opening day 0 for 5 with 5 Ks, with 5 strikeouts. I mean, it's always fun to watch Jackson Churio play ball. And then you got Bryce Terang, who right now, to begin the 2025 season, .325, OPS of an .849. He's also got a couple dingers, 6 RBIs, and this is a guy that's been back and forth between being the leadoff hitter or kind of the second leadoff hitter because going up against a lot of left-handed pitching. And this is where you got to give Bryce Turang a ton of credit. For a guy when he began his career where he struggled going up against left-handed pitching in his first year, and it's like, okay, we probably can't keep him in the lineup because he just struggles going up against left-handed pitching. What does Pat Murphy do last year? Pat Murphy's like, I'm going to give you a shot. I'm going to give you a chance. We're going to keep you in the lineup, and I'm going to give you a chance that you can prove that you can battle. You can go up there and have some success or have some success going up against left-handed pitching. And he took advantage of that. Pat Murphy showed that confidence in him and Bryce Turang. And Pat Murphy's talked about it how many times with Bryce Turang going up there. And Bryce Turang's rewarded him. And so far this season, even with going up against a ton of left-handed pitching to begin with, what is he doing this year? Hitting 325 with a couple home runs and an OPS of an 849. I mean, just these 3 players, then you throw in a guy like a Chad Patrick. You throw in the start that Freddie Peralta's had so far this season. If you had to describe this Brewers team with one word, I would describe it with grit. This is exactly what this team has done so far. They're kind of picking up where they left off last year. It was a slow start, no question about it. But this team has shown some incredible grit, and it's so fun to watch this blue-collar mentality that you're getting from this ball club, from these guys. Off day today for the Brew Crew before they return into action on the road, taking on the Colorado Rockies. Taking on the Rockies on the road tomorrow. All right, let's take a quick break. Your thoughts on from what you saw this weekend from the Brew Crew? Hit me up with a text. We've got some hoop stock coming up in just a little bit. You know what season it is? It's pothole season, and potholes mean loose debris on the road that kick up and hit your windshield, leaving a lovely crack in that windshield of yours, too. So now what? Simple. Call the experts at Post Glass and Mirror, where their specialists will quickly repair chips and cracks to your windshield. You can trust the fine folks at Post Glass and Mirror in Chippewa Falls to get you back to safe driving by repairing that cracked windshield. Give them a call today at 715-229-3754, or you can visit them online at postglassandmirror.com. And if you're online too, don't forget to head on over to sportstalk1051.com and get your two-person team in for the 5th annual Casper Classic being held at Lake Hallie Golf Course this year. It's actually the 100th anniversary for Lake Hallie Golf Course. Saw them post that just the other day. So we've got the 10 a.m., 1 p.m. tee times, and the 7:30 a.m. tee times. But that tee time, the early bird tee time, is only open up until May 26th. So if you want to ensure that you are going to be golfing at 7:30, you should sign up for that right now. Everything else is the same. Two-person team, $90 for your team. Not 90 per individual, $90 for your team. So if you want to divide, it's 45 per person. That includes your round of golf, your meal, a couple drink tickets, cart, everything else same. Proceeds going to help Backyard Dreams. So 5th year already. And a big thanks to everybody who has already signed up. Big thanks. That 10 a.m. one going fast, going fast. All right, let's finish up the second hour. We'll get back to some more baseball talk. Don't worry. Send me your thoughts on what you saw from the Brewers in this weekend series, this 4-game series against the Cincinnati Reds. Hit me up with a text, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, or hit us up on the video streams or on the socials. We're starting to wrap up the NBA regular season with the Bucks have clinched a top 6 spot, so don't have that to worry that they wouldn't fall in the play-in round. So they're going to be in the top 6. Just remains to be seen whether they're going to be a 5, whether they're going to be a 6, or could they somehow still catch the Pacers. Remember, they do hold the tiebreaker against the Pacers, so they got that going for them, which is nice. But they're going to need some help. They got to take care of their business, but they're going to need some help too. So, but just 4 games left to go here for the Bucks. So, I mean, it kind of looks like they're probably going to be the 5th seed. If I were to wager a guess right now, I think they would probably be the 5th seed, but we've seen some weirder things happen here. If you're doing a little bit of a scoreboard watching, if you will, the Pacers, their remaining schedule coming up here, if you're trying to see if the Bucks have a shot to catch them, they got the Wizards tomorrow. So it's like Pacers did beat the Nuggets the other day, so that was kind of like a kick in the you-know-what. But they got the Wizards, and then finish up a couple games against the Cavs. So after that, they got the Cavs, and they've got Orlando. Then they got the Cavs again, but Cavs might have the top seed locked up by that time, and they may elect to rest some guys to get ready for their playoff series. So you factor that in. That's why I feel like it's probably the 5th seed for the Bucks, and especially considering when you see the Pistons schedule. So the Pistons have the Kings tonight, and then they have the Knicks, and then they finish up their last 2 games with the Bucks. Bucks, we know their schedule. They got a tough one coming up tomorrow. They'll be at home taking on the Timberwolves. So Timberwolves, they're playing for some positioning too in the playoffs. But the Timberwolves, then they're home against the Pelicans, and then at Detroit and finish up against Detroit. So really, I mean, the Bucks may not be in a position. We'll see how it all kind of plays out here. But the Bucks may not be in a position for those final 2 games against the Pistons to maybe rest some guys, specifically Giannis. Because if they become must-win games in terms of a 5 or a 6 seed, they're probably going to have to play Giannis. We'll see, but that's kind of what's at stake here a little bit. So, but we're gonna get Bobby Portis. He's eligible to come back tomorrow, so that's a positive to give him back into the rotation, provide a little bit more depth. Got to imagine he's pretty healthy. Probably got to knock off some rust when it comes to Bobby Portis, but get him as much playing time. They may, I don't know, they may ease him on in a little bit just because he's missed quite a bit of time, but I'd play him these next 4 games to try to knock off that rust and make sure he's ready to go when it comes to the postseason. Because if he's, I got to imagine, unless he's dealing with something, I got to imagine he's 100% or close to 100%. I mean, he's got to be the healthiest of anybody on this Bucks roster right now, and the easily the most well rested of this roster. So, if the Bucks, once they get to the postseason, if they have any aspirations to make a deep run or to surprise some people, Bobby Portis might be a key player in that, because we know when he's on, he could be a big time factor. But he's got to be the healthiest, most well rested person within this Bucks team. So I look at him as being a a big key for the Bucks if they want any chance of making a deep run into. It's still up in the air when it comes to Damian Lillard and whether he's going to be available for the postseason. Now, Shams, again, the other day said that Damian Lillard is hopeful to get cleared in the next week or week and a half to go full go and then resume basketball for games for the Bucks. That's still the hope, but I guess I'm not holding my breath. I still maybe am a little skeptical about Dame's chances to return for the postseason, just because everything we're hearing is positive, but I don't want to count on it, I guess. And maybe that's just, me not setting myself up for disappointment or for some high expectations. Like, okay, yeah, Dame's coming back. He's going to be back. We're going to get Dame back. We're going to get Bobby Portis back. Yep, we're the 5th seed, but we're going to surprise some people. We're going to go on a little bit of a run. We're going to be that dangerous team that nobody wants to play in the postseason. Maybe that's part of it, is that I don't want to set myself up for that. So I'm keeping that in check. I'm keeping my expectations in check here a little bit, even though everything that we have heard about Dame and his progress has been positive. But I'm excited to get Bobby Portis back, because you throw him in there, we haven't really seen him pairing up with Kyle Kuzma and that, and how that rotation is going to work, right? I mean, we really haven't seen that so far. So I'm curious to see how that rotation is going to work out with him and Kuzma on the floor. Could they be on the floor at the same time? Who knows? But I would imagine, with him coming back, and if the Bucks have maybe something wrapped up in the final game or two, maybe it gives Brook Lopez a little bit of a breather and such. But good to finally get Bobby back starting tomorrow. So, other hoops stuff. College basketball, Final Fours over the weekend, national championships over the weekend. You had, for the women's side, UConn dominating over South Carolina. 82-59 victory in the national championship game yesterday. UConn picking up their 12th national title. 12th national title for women's basketball. So they got the job done yesterday. Dominating they dominated the top number 1 seed UCLA. They dominated number 1 seed South Carolina. Picking up their 12th championship. Paige picks up her championship to end her collegiate career. And then for the men's side, Florida taking down Auburn. Auburn had the lead at half. Then Florida taking it, getting the lead in the second half and holding on to win. And then it looked like Duke was gonna get the victory over Houston. But a little bit of a maybe controversial call, maybe not. Well, it depends on who you ask with the Duke controversial call towards the end there that allowed Houston to get to the free throw line and such, and Houston be able to make that very late come from behind victory and secure the win over Duke to advance to the national championship game. And that's tonight. We get Florida versus Houston. If you did not get a chance to vote in our 715 Fan Speaks poll, you can text me who you are picking to win tonight's game, Florida or Houston. All right, you can, if you didn't get a chance to vote on there, you can text me who you think is going to vote. Or if you did vote, you can tell me in a text who you think is going to vote or who you think is going to win tonight. But I'm curious to see this matchup. I'm definitely curious to see how this one plays out. Now, Florida's favored by 1.5. You look up matchup predictor on ESPN, and it's got Houston, though, as a 65.4% chance to win. Is it going to be the defense from the Houston Cougars that will help lead the charge to a W for them? Points allowed, they've only allowed 58.5 points per game this season, going up against the fourth highest scoring team in the country in Florida. Florida has averaged 85.3 points per game this season. So which one's going to give? Is it going to be Florida's offense? Is it going to be Houston's defense? I'm hoping this game tonight plays up to maybe the expectations that we have, or plays up to that narrative. You got a really good defensive team in Houston, and you got a really good offensive team in Florida. Who's going to have that advantage? And I hope it's close. I mean, I mentioned it in our poll question from yesterday that we posted early evening, late afternoon yesterday. It was tight between our Facebook and Twitter poll. Literally just 1%, 51% advantage to Houston. And I hope it's a very, very close game and a very tight game. And I could easily make the case for both. I'm going to wait to make my pick to when we get our picks and predicts at the back end of the program. But, man, I'm going back and forth at this moment on who I'm going to pick. And I just hope it lives up to the billing. I just want a classic game tonight. I want a classic game. You look at this tournament overall, and one of the narratives surrounding this tournament overall has been, no Cinderellas, maybe some lack of last-second shots or drama or exciting finishes or just overall, like, really exciting games. There's been solid games. There's been some good games. But I think for maybe some of the general college basketball fans out there, there hasn't been as much drama or exciting finishes. And I want that for tonight. You've got two really good teams, very good teams, going at it tonight. And I hope it goes down to the final buzzer until the clock hits 0. I want a fantastic finish to tonight's game. I don't care who wins. I don't have a rooting interest in either one of these teams. I mean, yeah, it would be cool for Houston maybe to win, because then Jim Nance, who retired from calling these calling these Final Fours a couple years ago, that's his alma mater. To see Houston to get a championship as a fan. But I really don't have a rooting interest in this thing. If I was forced to pick a rooting interest, it'd probably be Houston, but I'm not gonna die on that sword. I just hope for a fantastic classic game tonight. That's all I want. All right, we got a couple minutes to the top of the hour. So coming up next hour, we're going to continue our Packers potential prospect series. We're going to take a look at a couple more players that could potentially be the Packers' first-round pick or an early day 2 pick. Look at an offensive player and a defensive player. The offensive player that we're going to take a look at is going to be Luther Burden from Missouri, wide receiver, and then defensive tackle Kenneth Grant from Michigan. All right, so we'll do a little bit of a potential prospect preview on those two players. Also, we'll do a I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Best ones, send those over to me, and I'll say them on the air. I will say mine does involve Ovechkin setting the new goal record yesterday, passing the great one, Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky. So, but that's coming up here as we start to wrap up the regular season for the NHL too, and getting ready for Stanley Cup playoffs. But send me your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying best ones I'll send or I'll read off and get them on the air too. So text those, tweet those, comment on the video streams, whatever you shoot me an email, that's fine too. If you don't want to text or you don't text or you don't have Twitter or Facebook, you lucky sons of a guns. You can email it to me and then I'll read it off the air. I keep hitting the mic with my hat. I apologize. So we'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. Let's wrap up the first hour, though, with a couple of texts surrounding the Brewers baseball team. We have Chris saying, fantastic bounce back from the Brewers in these last few games. Agree with you. This team has all grit, and it's easy to jump on the bandwagon for this team because of how they play baseball. Josh has this to say, Brewers following a similar pattern to last year with all the pitching injuries and asking a bunch of guys we didn't know anything about to come in and produce. And so far, guys like Chad Patrick and Alexander have done that. I can't wait, though, for this team to get healthy because because it alleviates a lot of stress in my life and probably a lot of other Brewers fans. Another texter says, I love how this team has the mentality that Pat Murphy brings, like you said, that blue collar workman mentality, hoping that they can just get healthy and really and really showcase the talent that I think this team has. Keep those texts coming. All right, 715-830-1912. I'll get to some more coming up a little bit later on here. Shot clock's going to cut me off in about 15 seconds. So we'll kick off the next hour doing a little I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. And then we'll get to some Packers potential prospects. We'll continue our series looking at an offensive player and a defensive player as we are now just 2.5 weeks away from the NFL draft. It'll be 2 weeks from Thursday when that first round kicks off for the draft. One in, two more to go. Quick break, and we'll be back to kick off the second hour after these few words. Second hour kicking off on this Tuesday morning of April 7th. Hopefully, all had a fantastic weekend. Big thanks for making us a part of your start if you're just up and at it and joining us here this morning. Coming up, we'll do a little Packer potential prospect series. Continue that, taking a look at a couple more potential prospects that the Packers could draft in a couple of weeks here. So we got that coming up. We'll get back to some more Brewers and baseball chats. Brewers taking 3 out of 4 against the Reds. Back to 500, 5-5, 5-1 in their last 6 after starting 0-4 on the season. Off day for the Brewers today before they begin a 3-game series with the Rockies in Colorado tomorrow. Speaking of baseball, if you're just up and at it, overnight, Toronto Blue Jays and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. agreeing to a 14-year deal worth $500 million. 14 years, $500 million for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So that popped up overnight. So nice chunk of change there for Junior. We'll get back to some more hoops talk as well. Bucks picking up a couple of wins. They've been playing. They got to play a lot of games here during this stretch, but luckily they'll have a little bit of a break after the regular season before they start their postseason run here too. So, but they picked up a win last night against the Pelicans. Picked up a win against the Heat. 4 games left in the regular season, and then on to the playoffs. They have clinched at least a top 6 spot. They're currently in the 5th seed. UConn women's basketball picking up their 12th national championship by dominating South Carolina yesterday. And then tonight we've got the men's number 1 Houston taking on number 1 Florida for the national championship. Continue to send me your picks. And right now it's kind of like our 715 Speaks poll. It's about 50-50 right now from everybody who's texted in. I want to kick off this hour, though, doing a little I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Send me your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. If we got any good ones, I will say them on the air. But my I'm not saying, but I'm just saying for this Monday morning. I'm not saying Alex Ovechkin is the best player of all time now that he has passed Wayne Gretzky in career goals. But I'm just saying that I think him breaking the record, it got a fair amount of attention, but I don't know if it's getting as much hype as I think it should because, I'm going to compare it to 2 scoring records that we have recently saw get broke. So when LeBron broke it, when LeBron broke Kareem's points record, I felt like that one was getting a little bit more lead up, a little bit more attention. And I don't want to get into a debate whether, that's because basketball is more popular than hockey, et cetera. I don't want to get into that. But I think, and I think the NHL did a fantastic job of leading up to it and the hype and the attention to it. And they did a fantastic job yesterday afterwards, acknowledging it and right after it happened. And credit to the Islanders too. I mean, it was on their home ice and given the proper attention to it. But Ovi broke a record held by Wayne flippin' Gretzky. Okay. Wayne Gretzky. And for, I think, the longest time, this was one of those records that a lot of people thought it wasn't going to be broken or it'd be very tough to be broken. And you've got Alex Ovechkin, who broke a record by Wayne Gretzky. Okay, the great one, though. The one player that I think the wide majority of people would say is easily, is the best hockey player of all time. Gordie Howe's in there, no question. You got others, but it's not a debate like you have in the NBA who the best player is of all time. It's Jordan or LeBron. Everybody has that debate, for crying out loud. Football, it's a little bit more of a debate because, yes, you've got Brady with the championships, but you'll have others that'll throw Jim Brown in there or still Montana or Jerry Rice. You got different positions, which makes it a little bit more of a debate for others. Hockey, there isn't that much of a debate. Wide majority, it's the great one. It's Wayne Gretzky. So the fact that Alex Ovechkin broke this record that was held by the great one, held by Wayne Gretzky. While I think the NHL did a good job of the coverage with it, and yes, it's a top story when you go to like to ESPN and that. I feel like from the sports world overall, maybe should get a little bit more attention because this is a pretty fantastic feat. And the thing is too, like Ovechkin, and I'll be honest, I didn't realize he did it in the same amount of games as Gretzky. This to me is a wild stat. Ovechkin scored 895 goals in 1,487 games. Wayne Gretzky scored 894 goals in 1,487 games. So Ovi scored his 895 in the same amount of games as Gretzky scored his 894. That to me was like, oh dang. Like I was like, oh, because I kind of thought, okay, did Ovi play more games, to reach that? The fact that it was the same amount of games to me was like, snap. That deserves even more attention to me because it wasn't like, oh, he just played forever, so he accumulated all these goals and such. And LeBron, like, because like LeBron's like you got the 3-pointers attached to it, and that and Kareem was, all twos and free throws. I think if Michael Jeffrey Jordan had the scoring record in the NBA and LeBron broke it, that thing would have just been puked all over the place and thrown in our faces at every point and step. I'm really curious to see from a national perspective today to see how much attention this gets. Because I don't know if it would be on like the top spot, an A roll, a B roll sort of thing, B block, C block. But I think it probably should even get more attention than it deserves. Because you can't even make the excuse, well, he played in more games and it was just, the longevity part of it. No, the dude did it the same amount of time as Gretzky. Which to me was like, holy cow. That made it even more impressive for me. So, shout out to Ovi. And I've always liked Alex Ovechkin. And I've said this before. I loved how he celebrated that Stanley Cup a couple of years ago. The pure joy. Dude was liquored up. Well, let's be real. I can't play what he said at the parade, but the pure joy and the excitement from just winning the Stanley Cup, and he turned me into a fan from that point in time, just because of how that's what we want to see our favorite athletes, or that's what we want to see from athletes in sports. It's right, is the pure joy and celebrating of winning a championship. That's what it's all about. And I've been a fan of Alex Ovechkin. So if somebody had to break it, I guess for Gretzky's goal record, I'm glad it was somebody like Ovechkin. And shout out to Wayne Gretzky. If you didn't get a chance to listen to his speech on the ice yesterday, I thought it was awesome. I mean, he talked about too, when he broke Gordie Howe's record. Gordie was there, and it was important, to make sure that he was there when he broke it, and just the history of the game and honoring the history of the game is I think to see this, and I saw somebody on Twitter tweets. I think Sam Decker was actually the one that retweeted it. But it's interesting to see the narratives of these different sports when we get to like records that are broke or really good play. Like you've got in football, okay, the NFL. Certain players will go out there, break records, or do this amazing stuff in highlights, and they get attention, positive attention, positive talk, and when it comes to whether it's Patrick Mahomes, and sometimes I know some people get puked or it gets a little overdone on like Patrick Mahomes, and I understand that. But for the most part, it's respect, right? It's respect in there. It's respect in baseball when a record gets broken or you get really good play. There's like Otani. It's like, yeah, we're recognizing greatness with Otani. We're watching that. Hockey, obviously, Ovechkin, what you got with Wayne Gretzky and how he handled that and just, the kind of the passing of the baton. Get in the NBA, it has to turn into a debate all the time. And it has to turn into this ego-minded type of feel. It's like, oh, LeBron did this, or you get the Jordan comparisons. No, I'm better than Jordan. It turns into this weird debate instead of like just I don't know, like the word that comes to mind is ego when it comes to basketball. So okay, this was the tweet that I saw retweeted. Otani does something cool and is celebrated by media and former MLB players. Patrick Mahomes or Saquon do something incredible, and post game show highlights their incredible skill. NHL fans and former greats spent the last month praising and honoring Ovechkin. Meanwhile, in the NBA, Jokic has a 60-point triple double, and Shaq says, "Yeah, but I'm better." And LeBron is putting up MVP numbers at 40. But the lead story is Stephen A. saying he'd punch him. So I get what the tweet is saying is like it just whenever we get to like an NBA thing, it feels like instead of honoring the history at times or honoring or showcasing some of the talent and the wowness of everything, like even the Giannis part, like Giannis is having such a fantastic season this year, but it doesn't, I don't know, it's different when it comes to the NBA, and I think it's kind of frustrating. All right, let's take a quick break here, and I want to switch gears and talk a little football. We'll continue our Packers potential prospect series. We're going to take a look at a wide receiver from Missouri, Luther Burden, and a defensive tackle from Michigan, Kenneth Grant. Could these guys be potential picks for the Packers, whether it's their first round or maybe an early day two, depending on what the Packers do? If they are, we'll tell you a little bit about these guys coming up after these quick words. We don't want to get in this situation, but what happens when your car breaks down and you need a tow? Who do you call? You call AJM Automotive. Not only is AJM Automotive your go-to place when it comes to auto repairs, but they also offer towing services as well. And they offer a discounted towing rate for vehicles brought to their location. So if you get into a situation where you need to be towed and you need to have your vehicle fixed right up, AJM Automotive in Eau Claire has you covered. Just give them a call today, 715-835-9523. AJM Automotive, also one of our partners for our draft coverage. That'll be coming up in a couple of weeks. Also, got to give a shout out to SC Swiderski, another partner of ours for our draft coverage for next week. So a big thanks to Oasis and SC Swiderski and AJM Automotive. Let's talk a little draft. Packers potential prospect series continues as we look at a couple of players that could potentially be the Packers pick, whether it's their first round or maybe an early day 2 pick. Again, depending on if the Packers move up and down a little bit on the draft board. We don't know how it's all going to shake out. I think it's safe to say that Goody is going to be moving around draft board. It just depends on what round and where. So with that, we've obviously been doing this for, a couple weeks now. And we'll do it leading up to, 2 weeks from Wednesday will be our final one because we're going to be in Green Bay on that Thursday of the draft, getting ready for the first round of the draft. So we've highlighted offensive linemen. We've highlighted defensive players like corners, defensive linemen, edge rushers, wide receivers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And today we've got another defensive tackle and another wide receiver. We're going to take a look at Kenneth Grant from Michigan and Luther Burden from Missouri. So let's take a look at these two guys. Let's start off with Kenneth Grant, shall we? Let's start off with him. Defensive tackle from Michigan. This is a guy. Now, if you do your research, whether it's looking up scouting reports or you're looking at film of him, he is the common theme that you're going to find with him is if he could just play with the same style every single down. Like he shows glimpses and he shows some great stuff. It's just the consistency factor with him. Because when he does show, when he's at the top, when he's playing at the top of his level, he's pretty darn good. It's just the consistency has been the issue with him. That's kind of the common theme you find with Kenneth Grant. Here's what Daniel Jeremiah had to say about Kenneth Grant. He does list him in his top 50 prospects at number 30. Grant is a massive defensive tackle with intriguing quickness and power. He's very much a work in progress as a pass rusher. He flashes quick, violent hands to club swim for wins, but far too often doesn't have a plan and stalls out. He hasn't learned to harness his strength to bull rush and consistently collapse the pocket. That should be at the top of his agenda this coming season. He's a very dominant run defender. He easily holds the point of attack despite playing with a high pad level. I love his effort and awareness to chase down screens. If you want to see what Grant is capable of, watch Michigan's game against USC from the 2024 season. His upside was on full display that day. Unfortunately, he couldn't bottle that performance during an up and down season. Overall, there's some assembly required, but his physical tools are very loud and worth the investment. So there you go. Again, the consistency, worth the investment. Might have to kind of a raw type of talent. Maybe not a guy that you can play almost every single down on the defensive side. Again, if you're a Packers fan, do you like hearing that? There's some stuff you obviously love hearing about. Great run defender. Packers may have a need after losing TJ Slayton in free agency. They may have a need to bring in a defensive lineman that excels at stopping the run. Kenneth Grant does that. But as of right now, doesn't give you a whole lot in the pass rush department. You look at his size, Dude's big, 6'4", 330. And you look at what he did last year, third team AP All-American, second team All-Big Ten, 32 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Year before that, second team All-Big Ten Conference, 29 tackles, 5 tackles for losses, 3.5 sacks. So you look at what he brings to the table, you're immediately going to get let's say Green Bay drafts him, okay? Let's say that's the pick for Green Bay. He's probably going to be brought in early down situations, obvious running situations. That's where he can affect games right away in the early part of his career. Something that Green Bay is going to have to work on is going to be his pass rushing skills. So if they bring him on, he's probably not going to be a guy that you could count on to help improve the pass rush, which we know is a big must for Green Bay, that they've got to get better in the pass rush department. But that doesn't mean that they should overlook their need to fill in the void left by Slayton to help stop the run. That's a void right now. But the thing is, or the thought out there is, could they find that guy maybe a little bit later on in the draft? Do you necessarily want to draft a guy early that is probably playing 1 or 2 downs, your early downs, your running downs, until you can develop him into, or you can develop his pass rush game a little bit more? Is that worth the pick that early on? He's probably worth a pick that early on to a team that's got incredible depth at that position. Philadelphia, for example, like that, Philadelphia, or a team that's got maybe like the Vikings, right? They invested a lot in their defensive line this year. They could bring him in to help stop the run while they develop his pass rush. Green Bay is the tricky one. They've got 4 first-round picks on their front, but they need better production at the pass rush department. But they also kind of have a need to, with Slayton gone, that they got to have that guy that can clog up the running lanes. But inconsistency. He's a freak tester, freaky athlete, got a lot of intangibles. He's got some athleticism about him, but you might still have to mold him a little bit more. But I wouldn't be surprised Green Bay picks him. I mean, he fits the mold of what Goody especially has looked at when it comes to some of his draft picks, especially on the defensive side. Freaky athletes, let's mold him. The potential is there. The sky's the limit. The roof is the ceiling, as MJ likes to say. So I would not be surprised at all if that's the pick for Green Bay. But don't expect him in his rookie year to be a guy that's going to immediately improve your pass rush. Can help you with stopping the run, and he can affect games that way and improve the defense that way. But it ain't going to help you in the pass rush, at least right away. Luther Burden III, wide receiver out of Missouri. Let's talk about this guy. Now, this is a guy, if you've been looking at some of the mock drafts, I've seen him as high as being the first receiver picked. I've seen him as high as maybe being the third, possibly even the fourth receiver picked in this draft. So he's kind of been up and down on the draft boards out there. You look at his physical traits. He's 6 foot, little over 205 pounds. And in 2024, this past year, first team All SEC, 6 receiving touchdowns, played in 12 games. The year before that, second team AP All-American, first team All SEC, ranked 9th. This was in 2023, ranked 9th in the FBS with over 1,200 receiving yards, plus 86 receptions, 9 receiving touchdowns. 2023 numbers-wise, yeah, a little bit better. But what does Daniel Jeremiah have to say? Burden is a quick, athletic slot receiver. He received a lot of quick hitters in Missouri's offense. He excels on underneath option routes that allow him to combine his feel to create space, and his suddenness to generate yards after the catch. He has outstanding body control, giving him the ability to contort and haul in poorly thrown balls. He is at his best with the ball in his hands. He can stop, start in a hurry, and possess the agility to make defenders miss in tight quarters. He has more to offer once he gets to the next level. When given the opportunity to work down the field, he can tap into another gear and track the ball smoothly. Overall, he's a fun player to study and reminds me of Stephon Diggs coming out of college. So, what stands out to you when you hear Daniel Jeremiah talk about him? The thing that kind of stands out to me, and just again, reading some more stuff over the weekend about him and watching some of the clips about him over the weekend, I almost feel like there's some untapped potential there. I feel like there's, I don't necessarily, Daniel Jeremiah is 500 times smarter than me, but I think when he says athletic slot receiver, people just automatically assume strictly slot receiver. I think he has more to offer than that. I don't think he is just straight up your typical slot receiver. You line him up in there and he stays in there. I think he has a little bit more to offer than that. I've seen a few different player comps. I've seen Garrett Wilson as a player comp. I've seen Amon-Ra St. Brown as a player comp. I've seen Jerry Jeudy as a player comp. I don't view those guys as just straight up slot receivers. So I feel like there's potentially some untapped potential with Luther if he's put into a different style of offense than what he had in Missouri. As Daniel Jeremiah said, quick hitting offense at Missouri. Quick throws, getting the ball in his hands right away and letting him get to work. And that kind of reminds you a little bit of an Amon-Ra St. Brown type of player, getting the ball in his hands right away, letting him work across the middle of the field and letting him make some plays and creating that yak, right? So, and again, I'm not trying to say Luther is the next St. Brown, but if they've got similar play styles and skills, St. Brown would work within this Packers offense, right? And I don't view St. Brown as just a straight up typical slot receiver. Yeah, he plays a lot in a slot, but he can also line up on the outside and do a lot of different things. St. Brown would be awesome in this offense. I think a lot of us would agree with that. So I think he's got more to offer than maybe what we saw within the style of offense he played at Missouri. I like the stuff that we hear about him, especially when it comes to body control. Able to contort and haul in poorly thrown balls. We know Jordan Love isn't the most polished thrower of the football in the NFL. Not saying he's awful, but I mean, the last couple years we've been like, dude, don't throw off your back foot. There's been some throws like, dude, what are you doing? That's not a very good throw. Tight throws, right? Well, you got a receiver here that has success in those type of situations. And if you can get him the ball in space and really utilizing the middle of the field, this is a guy that can move the chains for you. But again, when it comes to these wide receivers, when it comes to Green Bay, I'm curious if Green Bay does use an early pick, whether it's day 1 or day 2. I'm really curious to see how Green Bay or what type of receiver they look at. Are they going to look at the bigger receivers, the 6'3s, the 6'4s, because they want that outside threat, that deep threat, the 50-50 contested catch type of receiver? Or do they want the receiver, you get the ball in his hands and let him make plays? I don't know if they have that. They may not. They may just we just want the best receiver, and we feel like any of these guys that we have high on our boards, we can fit them within our offense. We can find a role with them in our offense. But there's so many different styles and different types of receivers in this draft that I'm really curious that if Green Bay does use an early pick on one of these guys, who that guy is gonna be. Because they all bring something a little bit different to the table, and they bring a unique, to quote Liam Neeson in the fantastic cinematic classic Taken, a unique set of skills. And being put in Matt LaFleur's offense, it'll be interesting to see how they're utilized. But I could definitely see Luther being that guy, being a pick for the Packers. I just when you hear slot, don't just pigeonhole him as like, "Oh, well, he's just slot, he can't do anything on the outside." No. Don't pigeonhole him that, okay? Because again, the player comes. Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, St. Brown, Jerry Jeudy. Do you pigeonhole him in that? No, you don't. Not saying that he's gonna be any of those guys. But if that's the player comps that are out there for him, I wouldn't mind having any of those receivers in our offense too, and I don't think a lot of Packers fans would bat an eye at that either. All right, we gotta take a quick break. Continue to join in on the combo though, shall you? I mean, I need some more text from y'all. All right, let's talk some more baseball coming up here in a little bit too. Brewers with a fantastic weekend. Send me your picks for tonight's national championship game. Who you got? We'll be back in just a couple minutes. When it comes to one-stop shopping, there's truly only one store in the Chippewa Valley that can carry that title. That's Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. From grocery shopping and picking up some new team apparel to their sports shop to grabbing something in their massive wine and spirits department, Hy-Vee has something for everyone. And if you want someone else to cook for the night, hey man, they got you covered with many different options from their food court. Then when you head out, don't forget to fill up your gas tank with the fuel savers that you earned or the fuel perks that you earned by shopping at Hy-Vee. Shop smart. Shop Hy-Vee. All right, we got about 15 minutes to the top. We'll catch up on a couple of messages here. Brian saying, "Watch out for Abner Uribe. He is quietly putting together some nice stats on the mound. Wonder if he will become the setup man for Trevor McGill." Another texter. This one is from Eric. Eric is saying, sticking with the Brewers here. Impressive weekend for the Brewers, especially Chad Patrick. Another solid start from him. I have to imagine the Brewers are going to continue to give him options like they did with Robert Gasser and Tobias Myers last year. Hopefully, the Nestor Cortez injury isn't too serious. Would really love for these pitchers to stop getting hurt and we can finally get some healthy arms back in the rotation. Another texter, Jason, says, been really impressed with Sal Frelick's approach to the plate so far this year. Doesn't have the power numbers, but the guy is off to a really good start so far offensively for this team. He's definitely not the flashiest dude out there in terms of offense, but I was talking about it in the first hour a little bit. I love watching Sal Frelick play. I love watching that guy play. I mean, if he comes through a game where his jersey's not covered in dirt, yeah, he probably didn't even play. He was probably, getting a day off or something like that. I mean, this is a guy that is like playing with his heart on his sleeve. Dude is out there, whether it's crashing into walls or diving in the outfield for a ball or beating out a throw to first. He ain't going to give you 25 home runs in a season. But the guy has come through with some clutch hits and some big hits this year. Small ball type of player. But you can't argue with the intensity he brings, the energy he brings, the enthusiasm he brings. I love watching Sal Frelick play. It's not the flashiest guy in terms of offensive power, but his mindset, I really like watching Sal Frelick play. And you look at Sal Frelick and Jackson Churio and Bryce Terang with the starts that they've had so far to this season. Jackson Churio obviously was a guy that I think we had higher expectations for in year 2. And then first game, he goes 0 for 5 with 5 Ks. You're like, oh no. But he has bounced back really nice. He had 2 home runs yesterday. Leads the team in home runs now with 3. But he's performing really well from the plate. Bryce Terang, I think, we're only 10 games in, so I don't want to crown anything or anybody yet. But Bryce Terang, for a guy that has gone up against a lot of left-handed pitching so far this year, he is playing really well offensively. He's been hitting at the bottom of the order because of so many left-handed pitchers. But you got to tip the cap to him. He's still getting the job done. He's off to a nice start. But yeah, Chad Patrick, I mean, that's 2 starts now, 2 starts in a row. He got his first career win yesterday. And it was cool to see. I don't know if you kind of follow on social media or anything, but I mean, another game too, where ton of family and friends in the stands supporting him, and him to go out there and pick up the win and another solid start for him. Fantastic. I would imagine too with, the Nestor Cortez injury, Chad Patrick's going to get more opportunities, but let's not forget too Alexander and the job that he did on Friday night. Pitching a no-no there for a little bit. Did have 3 walks. But Tyler Alexander had a fantastic pitching night on Friday too. It's the grit of this team that stands out to me. Talk more about that coming up in the next hour. A couple of hoops questions, or not questions, texts coming in here. This one's from Matt on our Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Not high on the Bucks doing anything in the postseason this year. Whether they finish 4th, 5th, or 6th, I think it's one and done for the Bucks. Although I would be curious to see if Damian Lillard does return for the postseason now with the return of Bobby Portis. Could they be a team that nobody wants to play. I don't know either. I mean, this is the frustrating thing about this Bucks team has been, okay, if let's say Dame does come back and he plays in the postseason, let's just say he does. You got Bobby Portis coming back, eligible tomorrow. Giannis, assuming he's going to be good for the postseason, sounds like he will be. Just rest day yesterday. But assuming you've got your full-on squad, you've got, Kevin Porter Jr. has played well, other guys have played well in spurts. But let's say, okay, you get your full complement of players for the postseason. On paper, they should be really good. They should be a very solid team. But, I don't think any team's necessarily going to be afraid of them. I don't think they're going to be intimidated by them. But could the Bucks win a first-round series? Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they beat the Pacers or it might surprise me if they beat the Knicks if that's who they end up playing. But right now, it looks like it's going to be the Pacers. But after that, I'm not too confident. And that's the frustrating part is because you're like, okay, Giannis playing at an all-time high this year. You got Dame, who's still a really good player. You got a fresh Bobby Portis coming back. Brook Lopez can give you some good minutes and some good production. Kevin Porter Jr. has been playing well. You got Kyle Kuzma in there too. They should be better than what we've seen them. And I know they've gone through their injuries and such, but I don't have a lot of confidence in this Bucks team when we get to the postseason. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope they can be that team that surprises a lot of people and go on a bit of a run here, but I'm probably not putting all my eggs in that basket. Right now, it looks about still 50-50 with Houston or Florida from all of our picks from everybody texting in so far. So, which, again, goes with our 715 Fan Speaks poll that we posted up yesterday. Very, very close. Houston, on that poll question, just barely edging out Florida by 1%. 51% of the votes went with Houston. A couple more texts here as we start to wrap up the second hour. We'll get to some more baseball talk coming up in the next hour here. But one texter says, I would definitely be intrigued with Luther if that was the pick for the Packers. He has been a guy that I've had high on my mock drafts early on in the process. And if he is there when the Packers pick, I would not be upset at all if they used their first round pick to get him. That is from David on our texting line. Another texter staying with the Packers pick. I honestly have no idea what the Packers are going to do this year, and this is what has me a little bit more excited about the draft. I'm ready to either be excited or disappointed or just I don't know, because I can see them going in a bunch of different ways, and I'm not quite getting my hopes up on any certain player. I'll be honest with you too. We're 2.5 weeks out, and I really have no good idea where I'm going to go with my with my pick either. With my mock, I don't. It'll work itself out, once, because I do the first round for every team, and then I do a Packers 7 round. I mean, I had the general idea of positions I want to target for Green Bay, but in terms of that first round right now, it's tough. Because yeah, you could see a bunch. I wouldn't. If they go defensive line, I necessarily wouldn't be upset about it. They go wide receiver, I necessarily wouldn't be upset about it. They go corner, I necessarily wouldn't be upset about it. Offensive line, I would get it, but I'd be like, are they going to be contributors right away? Because I want a guy that could play right away and be a factor right away, and I know that's kind of greedy in sense and maybe not always the best form of practice, but I want a guy that we're going to get some production from and instant production from right away. But I would understand it if it was offensive line, but it would be like, oh, okay, yeah. Those would be the 4, though. Like, if I had to say what position Green Bay would get with their first-round pick, those would those would be the 4 that I would say it's going to come from. It's either going to be an offensive line That would probably be number 4 on my list. Then I'm just gonna put defensive line, edge rusher together, corner, and wide receiver. I would say that Green Bay's first pick is gonna come from one of those 4 positions. I could see it being wide receiver, corner, defensive line. Those would probably be my top 3, and then offensive line, if I had to rank, it would be 4th. It's close to the other 3, though. Probably receiver 3rd, and then maybe a defensive line corner. Although I don't know. I can't get a good read on Goody and some of the stuff that he says in his pressers and comments and such, because I could really see him saying, we're not going to target a defensive lineman in the first round because we've got 4 first rounders on a defensive line, and I'm banking on them for some improvement. I could see him doing that. I really could. Another texter asks, you getting excited for the Masters? I hate saying this, but meh. I hope it changes the closer we get, but I'm not. It hasn't really hit me yet that we're getting there. So I hope my enthusiasm changes. It's strictly because of no Tiger. I'll admit it. No Tiger there is a little bit of a bummer, and at some point there will not be a Tiger, and I got to get that through my thick skull too. At some point, like, he ain't gonna win it anymore. But it was just the fact that Tiger's at Augusta that gets me and a lot of people like excited. And at some point, it's not going to happen, and I just got to get over that fact. But I don't know. It's just it hasn't quite hit me yet that it is Masters Week. I've seen posts about it and such, but it hasn't quite hit me that, yeah, we're here. It's here. And maybe when we get to Thursday and you hear when I hear the theme song right away, the Masters theme, maybe that'll start to get the juices flowing a little bit and the excitement. I mean, I just picked up a new putter, so starting to get into the golf mode, but maybe I'll start to kick in a little bit. How about you? The rest of you, you kind of getting into it yet, or anything? Or are you kind of like, nah, nah? Some of you probably just aren't golf people anyway, so you could give a rat's you know what. All right, coming up, we got only a couple minutes left. Continue to send me your I'm not saying, I'm just saying, fill in the blanks. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. Best ones I will throw up on the air. Not throw up, I'll throw out there on the air. Jeez, Dan. I'll throw it out there. I'll say it on the air if you got a good one out there. So text those on over to the Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Coming up in the next and final hour, we're going to talk some more baseball. Talk about the Brewers taking 3 out of 4 against the Reds. We'll hit that up and kind of do just a general landscape of Major League Baseball coming up here too, because, well, you got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. getting a big deal, but 10 games in for a lot of teams here. I think there's maybe some surprises out there, both in a positive and negative direction. So we'll kind of do a little baseball talk and take a look at the baseball landscape. All right, so that's coming up in the next hour or two. So, plus more hoops talk. Continue to text me your picks for the national championship tonight. Who do you got, Houston or Florida? About 50-50 right now. Let's just hope that tonight's game is like that. It's close, and it's a little dramatic, and it's a little exciting. And hopefully, just hopefully, we've got some magical moments for one shining moment coming at tonight's. I don't really have a rooting interest in this thing, so I want a good game. I want a really, really, really good game. One that we're going to be talking about maybe for many moons and many years to come. I want that. That's all I want for tonight. So, but if you got a pick that you want to send over, you can. Like I said, our texters are about 50-50. If you add in what we did yesterday for the Facebook and Twitter vote, it's barely a percentage for an advantage for Houston. Barely. Just a slight advantage. But And then maybe we'll get back to some more Bucks talk as we're starting to wrap up that regular season too. Bucks picking up a win yesterday against the Pelicans and a win against the Heat yesterday or on Saturday. Off day today before coming back at it. By Ports eligible to come back tomorrow. So just 4 games left though for the Bucks. Got a big one against the T-Wolves. Got one against the Pelicans, and then those final 2 against the Pistons, which could determine whether they are going to be the 5th or 6th seed when it comes to the playoffs. Bucks already clinched the top 6 spot, but will it be 5 or 6, or could they somehow catch the Pacers for 4th? 2 in, 1 more to go. Got some news updates, and we'll be back to kick off the final hour in just a couple minutes. Final hour kicking off right now on this Monday morning. Happy April 7th. Coming up, we'll get back to some more baseball talk with the Crew taking 3 out of 4 against the Reds. Off day for the Brewers today before they begin a 3-game set with the Rockies in Colorado. Bucks also off day before they wrap up their regular season. Just 4 games left to go. They've got the Timberwolves, the Pelicans, and then 2 against the Pistons coming up here. So we'll get to all that. We'll get to some more. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Fill in the blanks. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. Got all that coming up in the final hour. We kick off this hour though. I'll try my best to fill in for Justice. Local Sports Roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center, and it was a very, very, very busy weekend in terms of Blue Golds and Stout and such. So try to do a quick recap and try to hit up everything that we saw over the weekend. Let's start off with golf because we finally got some golf in. The women's Blue Gold women's golf team was at the Lacrosse Spring Invitational where they finished fifth out of 7 teams there. But the men's team, a men's team that has really high aspirations and goals this year, they were at the Illinois Wesleyan Invitational, 6 out of 38. 6 out of 38. Fantastic performance from the Blue Gold men's golf team as they begin their spring season. So fantastic job. The Stout men's golf team finished in 10th at that same invitational. Women's golf for Stout, they've placed 9th at the Wartburg Spring Invite in Waverly, Iowa. So we got some golf action in for both Blue Golds and Stout. Baseball-wise, we had Blue Golds taking on Stout and advantage to Stout. It was a big-time advantage for Stout at Carson Park this weekend. When we take a look at it, it was Stout picking up the sweeps. We had double headers on Saturday and Sunday. Stout in the first game picking up a 5-3 win, and then in the second game a 17-6 win, and then Sunday we had Stout picking up a 12-8 win in the first game, and then another one offensive firepower for Stouts in that final game on Sunday, a 25-4 victory at Carson Park. So, and then continuing our busy weekend in some college athletics here, you had outdoor track and field season going on for the men's, for Blue Gold men's. They finished at the Ashton May Invitational, first out of 8 teams. That was over in lacrosse. And on the women's team, finished 3rd out of 9 teams. The men's for Stout, the men's team finished 6th at the Ashton May Invitational, and the women's team finished 8th in there. Because this is so cool too. Flag football for Stout. So we talked about this when it was first revealed, right? But flag football getting going here at Reynolds Field in St. Paul, and Stout off to a fantastic start. Flag football, University of Northwestern Minnesota. Stout picking up a 42-8 victory, and then Gustavus, Dolphins 61-0 victory. That was on Saturday. So cool to get that going here too. And I know there's a push to get some more to get some high schools in there as well, but got to throw that out there because we got some games in this past weekend. How about some softball action? Let's talk a little softball action. Start off with the Blue Golds for Blue Gold softball. And looking at this past weekend, they were also down in Illinois. And Blue Golds going 1-3 down at the Illinois Wesleyan Invite. They fell to the College of Wooster 7-6, picked up a win against Illinois Wesleyan University 10-8, then fell to the College of Wooster again 1-3, and then fell 6-4 or 4-6, excuse me, to Illinois Wesleyan University. But coming up this weekend, now we get into some WIAC action when it comes to some softball. And it begins with the Blue Golds this weekend visiting number 22, Stevens Point, in a doubleheader. That's going to be a fantastic matchup. This whole WIAC schedule, I think, is going to be really, really fun to watch. I mean, right now you've got, points ranked in the top 25, Whitewater's ranked in the top 25, Oshkosh is ranked in the top 25. So we are getting to the WIAC portion of the softball schedules. Stout-wise, they were also in action this past weekend, and when you look at it on Sunday here, looking at some of the scores for Stout. Excuse me, choking up a little bit. But softball got a 12-3 victory over St. Catherine University, and also fell to St. Catherine University 2-3. So splitting against St. Catherine University. So that's and then I do have to mention too. Got to give a shout out to a local curling team here, a very, very good local curling team. Big congrats to Team A-Bear. They just won the 2025 Junior National Championships in curling. So big time congrats. Big time congrats to Team A-Bear for becoming the 2025 Junior National Champions. So I know we've talked about them. We've done interviews with them and such, but a big time congrats to Team A-Bear for that. So that's just a really quick roundup for some local sports brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. We'll get into a little bit more of a deep dive when we got our experts in-house of Justice and Brandon and such, and especially when we get really into the prep season and such. I know some stuff has been getting underway in that, but we're getting really into it here coming up in the coming days, and we'll have our guys Justice and Brandon break it down for us. All right, let's talk some more baseball, shall we? Let's talk some more Brewers baseball. What stood out to you the most, or what has really stood out to you the most so far in these first 10 games of the Brewers season? Could be maybe an individual player. Is it a Chad Patrick? What you've seen from him in his first two starts? Is it Bryce Terang? Is it Sal Frelick? Is it Jackson Churio? Obviously, it's probably easy to pick injuries and starting pitching injuries, but let's try to not include that one. Let's try to think of it on a positive side. Is there something that's really stood out to you from a positive aspect from this Brewers team that you've seen so far? What has it been? I threw out a few of them there, but if you had to narrow it down to maybe just one, or maybe I missed one. I probably missed one too. What would it be? What would it be? All right, let me know. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. We'll take a quick break, and we'll get back to some more baseball talk coming up after these quick words. Your new go-to spot in the Chippewa Valley is the VFW Post 305, located on Star Avenue in Eau Claire. Whether you're looking for somewhere for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or breakfast sounds really good right now, actually, or a place to hang out with some great entertainment and events, you can't beat what the VFW Post 305 has to offer. A great food menu, a wide selection of beverages, and bands on the weekends. Plus, with spring here and summer around the corner, guys, you cannot beat that view of their patio facing the river. So the next time you're thinking about where to have breakfast, lunch, dinner, or just to have a good old time, the answer is simple. It's the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue in Eau Claire. Hey, also, if you are a spring sports athlete, high school, college, or weekend warrior, the spring sports season is here. And whether you are that high school or college athlete or a weekend warrior, getting ready for some summer tournaments or maybe even golf league, you shouldn't let pain hold you back from enjoying your favorite activities this season. That's why you should make your appointment today with Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Their team will help you get back on the field of play so that you can enjoy your favorite activities pain-free. So set up your appointment by visiting cvosm.com. Just saw apparently the Brewers. So Rick Schlesinger, the Brewers president of baseball operations, told WTMJ's Wisconsin Morning News that the Brewers will honor Bob Uecker with a celebration of life event during the August 24th game at American Family Field. The celebration will happen before and throughout the Sunday afternoon game against the Giants. Bob Costas will serve as host for the extensive ceremony before the game. Also, it says that the Brewers promise ticketed fans at the game will receive a unique and not-for-sale lapel pin. Bases for the game will feature a Uecker celebration logo. The scoreboard will frequently feature tributes to Uecker, and proceeds from the day's 50-50 raffle will benefit three charities supported by Uecker: Wounded Warrior Project, the ALS Association, and the Medical College of Wisconsin Bob Uecker Chair for Cancer Research. So put it on your calendars. August 24th. August 24th. It's the Sunday day game against the Giants. So it looks like that was just announced this morning. So speaking of baseball, we're about 10 games in for the Brewers. But looking at it, if we did like first impression, or not first impression, but really kind of stood out to you or stands out to you across Major League Baseball right now, what would that be? Does anything really kind of like, wow, I can't believe that's actually out there? I was looking at where everything's standing. Giants, to me, I mean, I was watching that game yesterday with the Mariners, and the Giants now 8-1. They've won 7 in a row, incredibly early, but they're at top of the NL West. I mean, what the heck's wrong with the Dodgers? They've lost 2 games now, for crying out loud. But okay, it's tongue in cheek. But the Giants 8-1 start, fantastic. Dodgers 9-2, no surprise. Padres 8-2. Then you got the Diamondbacks sitting there at 5-5, but I don't think anybody's closing the door on the Diamondbacks or anything like that. The NL West, sorry Rockies, but hopefully Milwaukee can put you down a little bit more in the standings here too, and that. But you look at those 4 teams, especially the top 3 in the NL West, it's like, whoo, yeah. Philly's off to a 7-2 start. I don't think that really surprises anybody. I mean, you look at Atlanta, 1-8. They're not off to a good start. And I know they played the Padres and the Dodgers to begin their season, so it was a little tough, but they had Miami, and I know one game was the series finale was postponed between the Braves and the Marlins, but still 1-8 start. They got blanked on Saturday by the Marlins 4-0. At least they picked up their first win on Friday, but not a great start. An awful start for the Braves. You got the Texas Rangers off to an 8-2 start. They've won their last 5 in a row. AL Central is probably playing out. I think that a lot of people thought it would. Detroit's sitting there at 5-4. Kansas City's only a game back, 4-5. Cleveland's 3-6. Minnesota's 3-6. That's far from being decided at this point. I shouldn't even say that because we're only 10 games into this. But then the AL East, Yankees at top 6-3, Boston 6-4. Toronto's 5-5, Tampa Bay's 4-5, and Baltimore's 4-6. Top to bottom, it's so far in their very early goings, it's been pretty close in that division. You know, a lot of people assumed Yankees or Red Sox would be at the top. Wasn't quite sure if Toronto would finally break through this year. How about Baltimore? Would they be back in the end? And then Tampa Bay is like, but they're right in it. So, and then you got the NL Central, the Cubs sitting there at 7-5 to lead the division, one game over the Brewers. But I think you look at the Brewers, and I talked a little bit about it in the first hour. I think what jumps out to me for the Brewers in the first 10 games, and what probably gives me some confidence in this team for this season, is just the grit. The grit that this team has shown so far this season. It's essentially picking up where they left off last year. It's kind of eerie that this Brewers team is going through some of the same stuff that they went through last year with their pitchers. What, last year, 17 different starting pitchers? And I'd have to look up what the pace is so far of how many different starters they're going to use this year, if it's on track, or to bypass that thing and then knock it out of the water. But it's kind of eerie that they're beginning this season with so many different starting pitchers, and now Nestor Cortez is on the injured list, and you just got Freddie. Bubble wrap the guy, make sure he's good. But you got Freddie as the only regular starter left so far. Now, we're hopefully getting Quintana at the end of this week. Tobias Myers still hopefully at the end of this month. Possibly even Brandon Woodruff next month. The Nestor Cortez, it doesn't seem like they're concerned about it, but I still get nervous when a pitcher has an elbow or an arm issue. I don't care if they try to say it's not that big of an issue and all that. I don't care. I get nervous anytime there's an arm or elbow issue with a pitcher. It's just that's the way it's going to be. And then hopefully Savali comes back from his hamstring, and we just start to get healthy, could stay healthy with our pitchers. But with all that being said, the way the Brewers bounce back to take 5 of their last 6 to get back to 500 with all of the unknown surrounding their pitcher. And then you have a guy like Chad Patrick who put together 2 solid starts back to back. Alexander on Friday nights having a no-no in there. Did have 3 walks, but had a no-no going in there. To see these guys, I mean, it's eerie how it's following a similar pattern to last year, where we're like, who the heck is Robert Gasser? And then all of a sudden Robert Gasser goes out there and is pitching well. And they're like, oh, who's this Tobias Myers guy? You know, these guys that are getting thrown out there because of injuries to the starting pitchers. And then it's like, oh, okay, those dudes are actually pretty good. Not saying Chad Patrick or Alexander are going to be the next Tobias Myers or even the next Robert Gasser, where all of a sudden we're like, okay, that's the future. But it's just kind of eerie how it's following a similar pattern to last year with some of these pitchers. The difference being is that we're expecting these guys who are banged up to be back as of right now, and not necessarily like, okay, we got to make some moves and make some trades like they did last year to bring in Savali, to bring in Frankie Montas, you know, to bolster that staff, or try to find a wild card out there like they tried bringing Dallas Keuchel in for a hot minute. It's a little bit of the difference here because we've got hopefully these guys coming back sooner rather than later. But if they can continue to weather this and they can continue to win some of these ball games with their pitching, you know, banged up, this is what gives me the confidence in this team to still be in it at the end and still competing for a playoff spot and still competing for a division, is this grit. And I think this grit fully comes from their manager, Pat Murphy, and just the tone that he sets and the expectations that he sets and the mindset that he has within that locker room. Those guys buying into what he's saying, buying into the message that he's telling these guys. You look at the first 4 games outside of opening day, because it was close and they had their opportunities. But then you look at, okay, game 2 on that Saturday, game 3 on that Sunday, and then the first game of that Royal Series. It's easy to be like, oh, crap. We're in some big trouble. And you already had, you know, they were getting asked about it. Players were getting asked about it. torpedo bats. You don't have any pitchers. What's going on? This, that. They battled through it. And they've kind of reset everything, reset the ship, and put themselves and bounced back nicely and put themselves at 500 right now, just a game back from the Cubbies. So incredibly early yet in the season, way too early. But you gotta like the response you saw from the Brewers after how the first 4 games of the season went. You have to like that. And I think a lot of that comes from their manager, Pat Murphy, and just the message that he sends throughout that clubhouse and the players buying into that message. And I think that says a lot, too, with the fact that it's coming from different or coming from younger players, or like, this is for the most part, a younger team, right? And they're able to kind of tune out the noise, tune out all the obstacles, and just go about doing their business. It's like a blue collar workman's mentality with this team. That's the feeling I get. That's the impression I get. This blue collar, no excuses type of attitude, going in and just playing ball and doing their job. And I think that's why it's so easy to root for this team and so easy to back this team, because they kind of have that mindset and they have that feel to them. And you look at guys, are they the flashiest team offensively? No. No. They're not a Dodgers, or they're not a Yankees, for crying out loud. But you got guys like Sal Frelick, who's hitting 378 right now, 3 RBIs and no home runs. But I love how he plays the game. He's always got grass stains or dirt stains on his jersey from sliding or diving. He's always going out there 100%, 100 miles an hour, plays with his heart on his sleeve. Isn't the flashiest dude out there, isn't going to wow you with a lot of offensive numbers. But the guy is just, I love how he approaches the game and how he plays the game. Then, of course, Jackson Chourio with his 2 home runs yesterday, leads the team now with 3 home runs. But this is a guy, I mean, for crying out loud, if he's not smiling when he's playing, that's when I get concerned. For a kid who just turned 21, opening day, he starts 0 for 5 with 5 Ks. Not a great start. And now you look at it, he's team leader in RBIs, team leader in home runs. He's hitting 295 in his last 29 ABs. He's actually hitting 345, slugging 759. And then you look at Bryce Terang, who I know Pat Murphy has talked a lot about the last couple of years, about his offensive approach. And you look at the amount of left-handed starting pitchers that this Brewers team has faced in their first 10 games. And Bryce Terang in 2023 really struggled against left-handed pitching. In 2023, in 137 games, he only hit 218, and he only had an on-base percentage of a 285. He struggled against left-handed pitching. But Pat Murphy last year is like, I'm going to give you a shot. They altered it a little bit. Not batting leadoff. He's batting in that last spot. Going to give you a shot for you to produce against left-handed pitching. And he did a pretty darn good job last year. And you look at what he has done so far this year, and every game hasn't been against left-handed pitching, but a big chunk has been. So far, Bryce Terang in 10 games, 325, with an OPS of an 849. And he's already got a couple home runs and 6 RBIs. And he leads the team in run score with 10. These 3 offensively, you look at those 3 and what they have done for this ball club so far in different ways, right? In different ways. But it's this youth, it's this mindset that these guys have going. I love how these 3 individuals particularly play baseball, play this game. They may not be the most popular guys on the ball club in terms of name power. That's still Yelich, that's Contreras, or even across Major League Baseball. But I love the way that these three go out and play the game of baseball. And just I don't know. Just I love you look at the starts that they've had so far this season, and they're off to really, really good starts. I don't know what else we could say about these three. But back to Frelick, how do you not enjoy watching Sal Frelick play baseball? Unless you're all about the home run ball and you just want to watch dingers all day and you just want to watch moon balls and who can hit the farthest home runs or who can hit the most, then you probably don't like Sal Frelick at all. But how do you not enjoy watching a guy who's only 5'8" and just going out there with the energy that he has? And even Bryce Terang too. I mean, for crying out loud, Bryce Terang has gotten a hit in every single game. He is starting off the season on a 10-game hitting streak. Probably jinxed it now. But this is the start that he is on so far. He's on a 10-game hitting streak. Gotten a hit in everything, in every single game. How do you not like these three guys, or how do you not enjoy watching these three go out there and just perform and play baseball? I love watching these three. Nestor Cortez, I mean, I'm pretty sure I had the same reaction that Brewers fans had yesterday when the news came that they were putting him on the 15-day IL. You're probably rolling your eyes. You're probably like with a big sigh. You're probably putting your head in your hands. You're probably like, "Whoa, my God, how many more?" Like you're probably saying words I can't say right now, otherwise I'd get fired or heavily fined. But you're just like, "Come on, are you kidding me?" Cortez saying, "I was like, I feel something, but I don't know what it is. I'm still going out there. I'm throwing. I threw my bullpen. Everything is normal." They wanted to see if there was something alarming, so I don't make my start Thursday, but I feel like they saw what it was and didn't feel like it was going to hurt me. He also went on to say, "I think between me and the medical staff, we've had good communications just because obviously once I got traded, I got an MRI in the offseason and then going through the whole rehab process during the offseason kind of gave us a better idea of where I stood with the arm. I mean, we did a really good job in spring training, so it sucks that we're here now. I think with a small break here, it'll feel a lot better. Hopefully, if there is inflammation, the inflammation goes down. And if there's strengthening to do, we get that. And hopefully, I'm back sooner rather than later." The thing that kind of stood out to me with this whole thing is apparently the Brewers were aware of, after he was traded, they were aware of an elbow issue. And this was from the Brewers assistant general manager, Matt Klein, said that Cortez's elbow, quote, started to feel a little scratchy earlier last week. Imaging was done, and the team compared it to the imaging done after the trade. During the offseason, Cortez rehabbed from a similar injury suffered toward the end of the 2024 regular season, but, quote, it didn't show any significant changes. So there obviously was something going on with that elbow where they were doing MRIs in the offseason. We never really heard about that before. At least I didn't. Maybe there was something out there, but it's like, oh, so they knew there was something going on, but they obviously felt comfortable with it to complete the trade and that. But elbow and a continuous elbow issue, I don't care if they kind of downplay it and say, "Oh, it's nothing too serious. Concern level's low." I still get nervous. And I'm still nervous about it. But we'll see how this, I mean, off day today for the Brewers, and then you get Freddie Peralta on the mound tomorrow. But after that, it's like, all right, what else we got? You go to brewers.com, Wednesday, TBD, Thursday, TBD, Friday against Arizona, TBD. Saturday, TBD. Sunday, TBD. I mean, that's where we're at with this whole thing. I would imagine Quintana's going to get one of those starts against the Diamondbacks, so at least would get him back into this thing. But golly, what more can happen with this? I'm not even going to finish that because I'm sure more could happen with this pitching staff, and I don't want to jinx it. But God, isn't it eerie how it's kind of following a similar pattern to last year with these pitchers? All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to wrap things up. Picks and predicts. Who you got in the national championship game tonight? Houston, Florida. On paper, it should be a good one. I just hope it lives up to that potential. Easy math question for you. When you add spring and baseball together, what do you get? That's simple. It's brats, baby. Fire up those grills for some tailgate parties or backyard barbecues this spring with some brats from Mike's Star Market. Whether it's the Bloody Mary brats or the beer brats, Mike's Star Market has so many different options for you to choose from that you will be the talk of your tailgate party or neighborhood cookout. Celebrate the beginning of spring and baseball season by making a stop at Mike's Star Market, located on the west side of Eau Claire. All right. Also, we got picks and predicts coming up here in just a second. I want to give a shout out to one of our mobile, or a couple of our mobile man cave partners, because we're going to be taking the mobile man cave over to Green Bay in a couple weeks here for our draft shows, Thursday and Friday in a couple weeks. First off, shout out Toyson Ford. From the moment you visit Toyson Ford in Chippewa Falls, you're more than just a customer. You're an honored guest. Purchasing a vehicle can be a nervous undertaking, but with Toyson Ford's pressure-free environment, drivers in the Chippewa Valley can take comfort in knowing they are in the best of hands, because the awesome team at Toyson Ford will work with you to help you find that vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. So give them a visit today at 1000 Chippewa Crossing Boulevard in Chippewa Falls, or check them out online at toysonford.net. Also, our good friends, Carpet City Flooring Center, shout out to them. They are also Mobile Man Cave partners of ours, and I can't wait for you all to see some of the stuff that we're working on with our good friends at Carpet City Flooring Center when it comes to our new studio. You once you see that, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to need that in my floor. I'm going to need that in my floor 100%, or in my home. You're going to want that type of floor in your home, probably in your man cave, unless you have an understanding family. So, but that's a little tease. We're going to do some video stuff with it coming up as we get just a little bit closer, All right, let's do some picks and predicts, brought to you by the Elbow Room, located right next to the Banbury Place in Eau Claire. Maybe if you're looking for somewhere to catch the game tonight, you can go visit the Elbow Room and enjoy some nice, cool, cold beverages. Before we get to picking the national championship tonight, let's do a couple of other games, including some. Let's see, what do we got on the dockets here for us? NBA wise, only two of them tonight, which makes sense because of, well, the national championship game and that. But Sacramento at Detroit. I'm gonna go Detroit, although a Kings victory would really help out the Bucks. Philadelphia at Miami. I'm gonna go with Miami. MLB schedule. Yankees taking on the Detroit Tigers in Detroit. Oh, Carlos versus Key. I'm going to go Yankees. Cardinals taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. Dodgers visiting the Nationals. Give me the Dodgers. Toronto at Boston. This could be an interesting, spicy early game. I'm going to go Boston. Miami at the Mets. Give me the Mets. We got the Rangers at the Cubbies. Ooh. Rangers off to an 8-2 start. Cubbies 7-5. Justin Steele on the mound. Evaldi for the Rangers. Let's go Rangers, baby. Baltimore at Arizona. Ooh, Zach Gallen's on the mound. I'm going to go with the Diamondbacks. Houston at Seattle. I'll go Seattle. Cincinnati at the Giants. Logan Webb's on the mound for the Giants. Giants won 7 in a row. I think they make it 8. I'm going to go with the Giants. Padres visiting the A's. Severino's on the mound for the A's, but Michael King for the Padres. I'm going to go Padres. I'm going to go with the Padres. And then we got Twinnies. Minnesota Twins taking on the Kansas City Royals. I'm going to go with the Royals. Sorry, Twins fans. So, and no Brewers game today. So, now the national championship. I have gone back and forth on this thing. Is it going to be the 4th highest scoring team in the country in Florida? Or is it going to be one of the best the best defensive team in the country in Houston. I'm gonna go Houston. I really, really, really hope that this. I don't have a rooting interest. If I did have to pick somebody to root for, I would. I say that now. I don't have a rooting interest, but once I start watching the game tonight, I probably would be like, I'm probably gonna go start rooting for Houston. That's probably where I'm gonna go. So, I mean, I'm not gonna be upset if Florida wins or anything. I'm not gonna be like in a temper tantrum and just my day is ruined in that. But I'm yeah, I'm gonna go Houston, and that's who I'm probably rooting for tonight. But I just want it to be a really good game. I want it to be a classic game. I want it to be a game that we're gonna be talking about for years. I want it to go down to the wire. I want it to go down to the last second. I hope it lives up to its billing with one of the top scoring offenses in the country in Florida, one of the top defenses in the country with Houston. I hope it's a battle royale, and I hope it's a very good game. So those are your picks and predicts brought to you by, again, the Elbow Room located in Eau Claire. Don't forget, though, too, you turkey hunters, we've got the youth turkey hunt coming up this weekend. Kiddos get first crack at those gobblers, and then the rest of the seasons open up. But spring is here, which means one thing, turkey hunting season. So you've got your tags, you know the dates you're heading out to the woods, but what the heck is missing? Maybe it's that new turkey shotgun, or maybe it's some extra shells. It's time to hit up Tilden Gun, baby. Locally owned and operated, Tilden Gun has the best selection of firearms in the area and all at the best prices in the area. Their expert staff will help you find the hunting firearm that you want and that fits in your price range. And if you're not a turkey hunter, but you're in the market for maybe a new deer rifle or such, they will help you find just what you're looking for. If you have a little left over from that tax return this season, purchase something for yourself this year. You deserve it. So give them a visit today at tildengun.com or check out their local shop located at 12427 98th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Don't forget, if you do have any luck, whether you're a kiddo or you're going out with a kiddo or whatever, at whatever point in time, send us those photos so we can put them up on our photo board on our outdoors page at sportstalk1051.com. All right. Catching up on a few texts here. Tim in the Cooley region says Brewers winning 4 straight after getting clobbered by the Yankees and Royals for 4 straight. Nobody made excuses. They just got out there and played. Kind of that blue collar mentality that we were talking a little bit about earlier, right? Right, Tim? That grit. That's why I have maybe a little bit more confidence in this team. Maybe it's blind faith. I don't know, but I like the mindset. I like how this team approaches things. We have David saying, agree with you on Sal Frelick. I enjoy watching the guy play. He plays baseball the right way. Another texter says that I don't have a name for this one. Another texter says, of all the positives, I'm definitely a little disappointed in what we've seen from Christian Yelich so far this season. Hopefully he can bounce back. Also, I'd throw Contreras on there. I think he's really struggling from the plate so far. Ryan with the Brewers talking about excuse me. You hit it with Bryce Terang. He's been off to a really good start considering he's gone up against a lot of left-handed pitching. Guy is riding a 10-game hitting streak, and he's been all over the lineup, whether it's been at the bottom or at the top. He is off to a really good start for the Crew, and hopefully he can continue to play well throughout this whole season. Another texter. This one is about the Bucks. With Bobby Portis coming back and hopefully Damian Lillard coming back, maybe I'm just too much of a homer, but I could see the Bucks team winning a couple of series in the postseason. I don't think they'd be nervous about the Pacers, and if they beat them and maybe face the Knicks in the second round, I do think this is a team that could beat the Knicks and advance to the next round in the Eastern Conference playoffs. I like the optimism. I like it. I hope you're right. Another time. Okay, just kind of going. There's a bunch of So it looks like if we had to pick a majority, slight majority goes with Houston in tonight's game. So I'm not going to go through every texter that said Houston or Florida. I'll just say it looks like a slight majority favors Houston in this. So, all right. What do we got on the docket for tomorrow? So, well, first off, talked a lot of Brewers today. Talked a little bit of Bucks there with only 4 games left in the regular season. Talked about Alex Ovechkin setting the new goals record, passing Gretzky. Cool moment yesterday. If you didn't get to watch it all, go check it out. Really cool. We talked a little bit about that. Talked about UConn women's basketball winning their 12th national championship. UConn University basketball university overall? I think so. What else did we chat about? Did a couple more prospects for our Packers potential prospect series. So we'll hit up probably a couple more tomorrow as we continue our countdown until the to the NFL draft. Now that we're just about 2.5 weeks away, so we'll hit up a couple more tomorrow. Tomorrow is also Grind My Gears Tuesday, so think about what's grinding your gears. All right, think about what's grinding your gears. Save those for tomorrow. We'll get those. We'll catch up with RJ Cardinal. Badger basketball, adding a couple of transfer portal guys. So we're going to be talking with RJ about that and kind of get his thoughts on what the Badgers have done so far in the transfer portal. So obviously we know Daniel Freitag has left, but they bring in this big swing forward from Portland who apparently is it Austin Rapp? Yeah, Austin Rapp. We talked about Andrew Rohde from Virginia on Friday, but over the weekend, Austin Rapp, a big stretch for. Apparently his idol is Frank Kaminsky. So, but we'll talk a little bit about that with RJ coming up tomorrow and do a little Badger chat with him. Also coming up tomorrow, we'll talk a little bit about the Bucks. We'll preview Brewers versus Rockies. Freddie Peralta is on the mound tomorrow, getting the start for the Crew. What else does Freddie have in store for us after 2 solid starts to begin the season? Coming off of that very good start, probably, I don't think it's a stretch to say, probably one of his best starts of his career against the Royals the other day. I don't think it's a stretch to say that, right? I mean, just a fantastic start. What else does he have in store for us? Be kind of curious. Going into Colorado too. We know that's that ballpark. Once in a while, he could give up a couple home runs. So, but I'm excited to see Freddie Peralta coming off that start that he had against Kansas City on the second, where he went 8 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, strikeouts, 13 straight innings with no walks. It's 13 straight innings with no walks. Just had the one early on against the Yankees. So hopefully another solid performance from Freddie. Continue to stack those. And then, because again, I think beginning of the season, we were all kind of like, okay, there's just maybe one more step, maybe 2 more steps he's got to take to be like a legit number 1, or how you view him as a number 1 starter. And well, given what we've seen the first 2 games so far this season, I think he's getting there. I don't know if I'm ready to say he's taken that step yet. I want to see a little bit more of a sample size, but if we can see that against Colorado and such, getting a little bit closer to that. We'll see if the Brewers make any more moves in the next couple days here to kind of bolster up their pitching staff with more injuries now that Nestor Cortez is on the injured list too. Yeah, we talked about it with the outfield, I think, last year. Oh, they got too many outfielders, and then it ended up working out because they had injuries. And then spring training's like, oh, geez, they got too many starters in their pitching staff, and now it's like they don't have enough. It always works out. That's why they always say you can never have too many starting pitchers. I mean, at one point we were like, oh, is it going to be like a 6-man rotation, or what's going on here? And now they just got 1 from their original. And we're only 10 games into the season, for crying out loud. We just need this. We need this team to get healthy, get these guys back. But they're battling. They're grinding right now. Guys like Chad Patrick putting together back-to-back solid starts. Guys like Alexander and Friday going out there and pitching a no-no for a little over 5 innings. Going to need more of those type of performances from some of these other guys coming up here too. So, but All right, enjoy the national championship game. Again, I hope it's just a classic. I hope it's a close game throughout. I hope it's just a really, really good basketball game and not a blowout or anything. I just want to. I want this tournament to wrap up with a very, very, very good game, and I hope we get that tonight. If we do, we'll be talking about it tomorrow. Plus some Brewers, plus some Bucks. Bucks taking on the T-Wolves. We'll hit that up tomorrow too. Have a good rest of your Monday. DP Dance are up next. Same place, same time tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. We'll talk to you then.